The sun was setting behind the tall, rusty mountains of Valor 9. The sky was a dark red with heavy clouds rolling in. Captain Elias Ward moved carefully across the rocky ground, his boots kicking up dust. He was part of a small human recon team sent to this wild planet. Their mission was to find out why the local colonies had stopped sending messages. Elias kept his eyes sharp. The planet was dangerous. Strange creatures and pirate groups roamed the land. But the real threat came from the alien raiders known as the Zero Dominion. They had been attacking nearby colonies and taking control of valuable resources. Elias and his team were here to gather information, not to fight. But danger found them quickly. Suddenly, a loud explosion echoed nearby. Elias crouched behind a large rock as laser fire lit up the darkening landscape. His team shouted warnings over their radios. "Raiders incoming! Take cover!" Elias raised his weapon and fired back. The aliens were fast and well-armed. The ground shook as more explosions rocked the area. Elias saw one of his squadmates fall, hit by a plasma blast. Without thinking, Elias sprinted forward through the hail of fire. He reached the fallen soldier and dragged him behind cover. But then, something caught his eye. A figure moving in the distance trying to escape. It was an alien, but not one of the raiders. Elias recognized her as a Valorian, the native race of this planet. She looked young, with pale blue skin and silver hair that shone even in the fading light. Elias felt a sudden urge to help her. The Valorians were known to be proud and secretive, but this girl looked scared and hurt. He shouted to her, "Over here! Come with me!" She hesitated, but then ran toward him limping on one leg. A plasma burn had clearly wounded her. Elias quickly threw his arm around her to support her. "I'll get you to safety." The sounds of the battle grew louder. The raiders were closing in. Elias knew he had to move fast. With the injured girl leaning on him, he ran toward a small abandoned shelter he had spotted earlier. Inside the shelter, Elias gently helped the girl sit down. She looked at him with wide eyes, uncertain if she could trust this human. Elias smiled softly. "You're safe here. I won't let anything happen to you." The girl, whose name was Rinya, nodded slowly. She spoke in a soft voice. "Thank you. I didn't think any human would help me." Elias looked surprised. "Why not? We are not enemies." Rinya shook her head. "Many Valorians think humans are reckless, dangerous, but you saved me. I am grateful." Elias felt a warmth in his chest. For years, humans and Valorians had only been cautious allies at best. But here, in the middle of danger, a new kind of trust was growing. Suddenly, Rinya winced and pulled her torn sleeve away. Her leg was badly burned, the skin red and blistered. Elias knew he had to act quickly. He looked around the shelter and found a small first aid kit left behind. "Hold still," he said, carefully cleaning the wound. Rinya closed her eyes, biting her lip to bear the pain. After bandaging her leg, Elias noticed his own shoulder was burning. He touched the area and found a deep red burn where plasma had grazed him during the fight. He tried not to show the pain. Rinya opened her eyes and saw the injury. "Let me see," she said, reaching out. Elias hesitated but nodded. Rinya carefully pulled open the front of his shirt to get a better look. The air seemed to still around them, but then her hand stopped. Her eyes widened as she stared at something on his chest. Elias felt a sudden chill. "What is it?" he asked, his voice low. Rinya didn't answer. Instead, she stared at a mark etched into his skin, right over his heart. It was a strange symbol, circular with sharp lines and curves, glowing faintly with a color that was hard to describe. Elias looked down, confused. "I don't remember getting that. It's been there since I was a child." Rinya's voice trembled. "This symbol, it is the mark of the ancients. Only those with royal blood carry it." Elias shook his head. "I'm just a soldier. I don't have royal blood." "But this symbol says otherwise," Rinya whispered. The room seemed smaller suddenly, as if the weight of history was pressing down on them both. Elias realized this symbol might mean more than he ever imagined. It could change everything he knew about himself, and about the future of Valor 9. Outside, the sounds of battle were fading, but a new challenge was beginning. Elias and Rinya were now bound together by a secret older than the stars. The abandoned shuttle where Elias and Rinya had taken refuge was old and dusty. Its metal walls creaked softly in the warm breeze of Valor 9. Outside, the sounds of the firefight had faded into distant echoes, but neither Elias nor Rinya felt safe. Yet, they both knew the raiders could return at any moment. Rinya sat quietly, watching Elias as he touched the strange mark on his chest. The symbol had a meaning that she did not fully understand, but it carried the weight of her people's history. She wondered how a human could bear such a sign. Elias noticed her gaze and spoke first. "You seem worried about that mark," he said quietly. "But I don't know what it means. I've had it for as long as I can remember. It never caused me trouble before." Rinya took a deep breath. "The mark of the ancients is a sign of royal blood. It is said only the true heirs of Valor's ancient rulers could carry it. Some say it grants great power. Others believe it brings great responsibility." Elias frowned. "I'm no heir. I grew up on Earth. I'm just a soldier." "But this mark," Rinya said, shaking her head. "It is more than just a symbol. It is a connection to a past long forgotten." Elias looked at her, curiosity growing. "What do you know about this past?" Rinya hesitated, then began to explain. "Long ago, Valor was ruled by a great empire. The rulers were chosen by the ancients, beings of great wisdom and power. They united many planets and races under a single banner of peace. But when the empire fell, the mark became a secret. The royal bloodline was believed lost." Elias listened closely, feeling a strange mix of excitement and fear. Could it be possible that he carried the blood of those ancient rulers? How? Suddenly, Rinya's face changed. "You said you have had this mark since childhood. Where did you come from?" Elias thought for a moment. "I was part of an expedition to a distant planet when I was a boy. Something happened there. I was lost for weeks. When I returned, this mark appeared on my chest. I never told anyone." Rinya's eyes widened. "That place, it is a place of legend. Many believe it holds the secret to the ancients' power." Elias swallowed hard. "I never understood what it meant until now." The two sat in silence for a moment, feeling the weight of their discovery. Outside, the wind picked up, shaking the shuttle's metal walls. "We need to move," Elias said suddenly. "The raiders will come back and they would want to capture you." Rinya nodded. "Yes. They fear the truth about the mark. They want to keep our people divided." Elias stood and looked out through the cracked window. The desert stretched endlessly, empty and harsh. "Where will we go?" Rinya looked thoughtful. "There is an old temple in the north, the ruins of Saran Li. It is said to hold the answers about the ancients. If we can reach it, maybe we can understand what this mark means, and how to stop the raiders." Elias nodded. "Then we don't have much time." They prepared to leave the shelter, Elias helping Rinya to stand despite her injured leg. She grimaced but pushed forward, determined. As they stepped outside, the sun had almost disappeared below the horizon, leaving only a soft glow behind the mountains. The temperature dropped quickly. Valor's nights were cold and unforgiving. They started their journey across the rocky terrain. Elias led the way, his soldiers' training keeping them alert for dangers. Rinya followed, leaning on him when her leg ached. Hours passed, and the stars began to shine overhead. The silence was broken only by the sound of their footsteps and distant howls of unknown creatures. Suddenly, a low growl echoed nearby. Elias froze, signaling Rinya to stay still. From the shadows, a pack of wild beasts appeared, large, with glowing eyes and sharp teeth. Rinya's eyes widened in fear. Elias stepped forward, holding his weapon steady. The beasts circled, watching. Without hesitation, Elias fired a warning shot into the ground. The creatures snarled but held back. Slowly, Elias and Rinya backed away, moving cautiously toward a rocky outcrop. The beasts followed for a few moments but then retreated into the darkness. Rinya exhaled deeply. That was too close. Elias smiled faintly. We're lucky. This planet tests us at every step. As they continued, Rinya's thoughts wandered back to the mark on Elias's chest. She felt a strange hope stirring inside her. Perhaps this human was more than a soldier. Maybe he was the key to a future where humans and Valorians could stand together. Suddenly, Rinya stopped and looked back at Elias. Why did you save me? You could have left me behind during the battle. Elias looked surprised, because it was the right thing to do. No one should be left to die alone. Rinya smiled softly, a warmth growing in her heart. Humans are different than we thought. Elias shrugged. Maybe we all have more in common than we realize. They walked on under the bright stars, their unlikely alliance growing stronger with every step. The path ahead was dangerous, but together, they would face whatever Valor 9 had in store. And somewhere deep inside, Elias knew this journey would change him forever. The morning sun rose slowly over the harsh landscape of Valor 9, casting long shadows across the rocky ground. Elias and Rinya sat beside a small fire, warming themselves and resting from their long walk through the desert night. Rinya's injured leg was wrapped tightly, but the pain still made her wince with every movement. Elias studied the strange symbol on his chest again. It did not glow anymore, but it seemed to carry a weight far beyond what he understood. He wondered if it was a curse or a blessing. Tell me more about this mark, Elias said, breaking the silence. Rinya nodded and leaned forward. The mark of the ancients is much more than just a symbol. It is a sign of destiny. In the oldest stories of my people, the ancients were wise rulers who united many worlds long ago. Their bloodline was said to carry powers beyond normal beings. The mark was a sign of their right to lead. Elias listened carefully, trying to absorb everything. But if it means so much, why did no one tell me about it before? Rinya sighed. The empire fell many centuries ago. The royal bloodline was believed lost, and the mark became a secret. Many think the stories are only myths now. Some fear the mark because it can inspire hope, and hope can be dangerous to those who want control. Elias looked out at the desert. So the Zeril Dominion wants to capture me because they fear this hope? Yes, Rinya said firmly. They want to keep us divided and weak. If the mark of the ancients is real and you bear it, then you represent a chance for peace and unity. They cannot allow that. Elias clenched his fists. Then we have to stop them. Rinya smiled faintly, touched by his determination. We will need help. Over the next few days, Elias and Rinya traveled carefully across Valor 9. The journey was difficult. The terrain was rough, and the sun burned fiercely during the day. But Elias's skills as a soldier helped them avoid danger. Along the way, Elias began to notice strange things happening to him. His burns healed faster than normal. His strength seemed to last longer than before. Once, when they passed an ancient Valorian device buried in the sand, Elias touched it, and it hummed softly as if alive. Rinya saw this and said, "The mark is awakening something inside you. It connects you to the ancient's power." Elias was both amazed and frightened. He had never believed in such things. "I don't know if I'm ready for this." "You don't have to be ready," Rinya said. "Sometimes the journey chooses us, not the other way around." One evening, as they rested under a wide tree near a small spring, Rinya told Elias about the ruins of Saranli. The temple there holds ancient records and secrets of the ancients. If we can reach it, we might understand your mark. And what you must do. Elias looked at the starry sky, feeling a deep connection to this alien world and to Rinya. Then that is where we must go. The next morning, they set out again, moving faster now. But the Zeril Dominion was not far behind. Scouts had spotted them, and their pursuers were growing closer. One afternoon, as Elias and Rinya crossed a narrow canyon, the sound of footsteps echoed behind them. Suddenly, a group of Zeril soldiers appeared, blocking their path. Elias raised his weapon. "Rinya, get behind me." The Zeril leader stepped forward, a tall figure clad in dark armor. "Captain Ward," he said with a cold smile, "you carry a dangerous mark. Surrender now, and your death will be quick." Elias shook his head. "I won't give up, not while she is with me." Rinya stepped forward too, her voice steady. "We will not let you take him." The Zeril soldiers moved forward, weapons raised. But Elias noticed something strange. As he looked at the mark on his chest, a strange energy flowed through him. His senses sharpened and his movements became faster. In a blur, Elias disarmed the nearest soldier, then turned to help Rinya. Together they fought bravely, using every skill and trick they knew. The battle was fierce, but short. The Zeril soldiers, surprised by Elias's strength and Rinya's courage, quickly retreated. After the fight, Elias looked down at his chest and felt the mark warm under his skin. "This power, it's real." Rinya smiled with relief. "Yes, you are more than a soldier now. You are the hope of two worlds." Elias looked at her, understanding the truth in her words. Though the path ahead was dangerous, he was no longer alone. Together they would uncover the secrets of the ancients and fight for a future where humans and Valorians could stand as allies. The sun was high in the sky, its heat pressing down on Elias and Rinya as they moved swiftly through the rocky plains of Valor 9. The journey to the ruins of Saranli was getting harder with every step. The landscape was harsh and unforgiving, but the threat chasing them was far more dangerous. Behind them, the Zeril Dominion's forces were closing in fast. Their black ships hovered above the horizon, sending scouts and soldiers to find the human with the ancient mark. Elias knew that staying in one place too long was not an option. Every moment they delayed made the enemy stronger. Rinya stumbled on a loose stone, wincing as pain shot through her injured leg. Elias quickly steadied her. "We can rest soon," he said gently. "Just a little farther." Rinya nodded, her eyes shining with determination. "I've heard stories about the ruins. They say it is guarded by ancient defenses. If those still work, we might find protection there." Elias glanced at the strange symbol on his chest. The mark seemed to pulse with energy, as if urging him forward. "I hope so, because I don't think we can outrun them forever." As they continued, Elias noticed his own body was changing. His wounds healed faster and he felt stronger than before. But more than that, he began to sense things. The subtle shifts in the wind, the faint signals from the old Valorian technology buried in the land. One evening, as they camped beneath the stars, Elias carefully touched a small device he had found earlier. It sparked to life with a soft blue light. Rinya watched in awe. "Your connection to the ancients is growing," she said quietly. "You may be the key to awakening their power." Elias smiled, though uncertainty clouded his face. "I never asked for this. I just want to protect you." Rinya reached out and took his hand. "Sometimes the greatest gifts come when we don't expect them." The next morning, the peaceful silence shattered. A squad of Zeril soldiers appeared, blocking their path near a narrow canyon. Their leader stepped forward, eyes cold and calculating. "Captain Ward," he said, voice full of menace. "The mark of the ancients belongs to us. Hand him over, and your fate will be merciful." Elias shook his head firmly. "I'm not surrendering." Rinya stepped beside Elias, her voice strong. "You will not take him." The battle began swiftly. Elias moved with new strength and speed, his connection to the mark giving him an edge. He disarmed one soldier with a quick move, then helped Rinya fend off another. Despite being outnumbered, their courage and skill kept the Zeril forces at bay. But the enemy was relentless. More soldiers arrived, forcing Elias and Rinya to retreat, deeper into the canyon. As they ran, Elias felt the mark on his chest burning with energy. He closed his eyes and focused. Suddenly, the ancient device in his hand responded to his thoughts, sending out a pulse that slowed the Zeril soldiers. Rinya gasped. You're controlling the old technology. Elias nodded. It's part of the power the mark gives me. We can use it to protect ourselves. They reached a hidden entrance carved into the canyon wall, the way into the ruins of Saran Li. Elias pressed a hand against the stone and the door slowly opened, revealing a dark passage inside. Quick, come in, Elias urged. Inside, the air was cool and still. Ancient symbols decorated the walls, glowing faintly as Elias's mark connected with the ruins. The Zerel soldiers stopped at the entrance, unable to enter. Rinya looked around in wonder. These defenses, they still work. Elias stepped forward, feeling the strength of the ancients fill him. We've found a safe place for now. As they explored deeper, Elias saw murals showing a figure just like him, a human with the mark, leading different worlds to peace. He realized that the stories were true. He was part of something much bigger than himself. Rinya placed a hand on his shoulder. You are the hope for our people, and maybe for the whole galaxy. Elias looked into her eyes, feeling a new resolve. The path ahead would be dangerous, but with Rinya by his side and the power of the ancients awakening, he was ready to face whatever came next. Outside, the Zerel Dominion's forces waited, but inside the ruins, Elias and Rinya prepared to change the future. Inside the ancient halls of the ruins of Saran Li, the air was cool and still. The soft glow from the walls cast gentle light over Elias and Rinya as they stepped deeper into the temple. The silence felt sacred, as if the very stones were whispering forgotten stories. Elias looked around with awe. The walls were covered in murals and carvings, showing scenes of peace and unity between many worlds. In the center of one great mural was a figure who looked just like him, a human with the same strange symbol on his chest, standing tall beside alien leaders. Elias felt a shiver run down his spine. Rinya spoke softly. This is the history of the ancients. Long ago, they built a great empire, uniting different species in harmony. But after many years, their empire fell into ruin, and their knowledge was lost. Elias studied the mural. So this figure, is he a leader? Yes, Rinya said. He is the chosen one, the bearer of the mark. He was meant to bring peace back to the galaxy. Elias shook his head. I don't know if I'm that person. I'm just a soldier, not a king or ruler. Rinya smiled gently. Sometimes the greatest leaders come from unexpected places. You saved me. You have the courage and heart the ancients valued. Elias looked down at the mark on his chest. The symbol felt warm against his skin. He reached out and touched it, wondering what power it might hold. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled lightly. A hidden door slid open, revealing a chamber filled with glowing crystals and ancient machines. Rinya's eyes widened. This is the Chamber of Light. It is said to contain the knowledge and power of the ancients. Elias stepped inside carefully. The crystals pulsed softly, and he felt the energy inside the room flowing through him. He closed his eyes and focused on the mark. A voice echoed quietly in his mind, clear, but gentle. Bearer of the mark, you are chosen to restore balance. You must unite the divided and protect the innocent. Elias opened his eyes, surprised. Did you hear that? Rinya nodded. The ancients still watch over us through you. Elias took a deep breath. I don't know if I'm ready for this, but I can't turn back now. Rinya stepped beside him. You won't be alone. Together we can face what comes. Outside the chamber, a sudden alarm sounded, a deep warning tone that echoed through the ruins. We have company, Rinya said urgently. The Zerel Dominion has found us. Elias grabbed his weapon and moved to the entrance. Through the ancient windows, he could see the black ships of the Zerel fleet descending onto the surface. They want to take this place, Elias said. We have to defend it. Rinya nodded. The ruins have defenses. We can use the ancients' technology to protect ourselves. Together, Elias and Rinya activated the ancient systems. Walls shifted, and energy barriers rose around the temple. Strange machines hummed to life, powered by the crystals in the chamber. The Zeril soldiers approached, confident and armed. But when they reached the barriers, their weapons were stopped by a powerful force field. Elias looked at Rinya. "They can't get in." "No," she said. "We have the advantage." The battle began outside the walls. Elias and Rinya coordinated with a small group of Valorian resistance fighters who had come to their aid. Using the ruins' technology, they launched defenses that slowed the Zeril advance. Inside the temple, Elias felt the power of the ancients growing stronger. The mark on his chest pulsed with light, and he realized he was becoming more connected to this place. During a brief pause in the fighting, Elias turned to Rinya. "What happens if we win?" Rinya smiled with hope. "Then we begin the work of rebuilding. The ancients dreamed of a galaxy united. Maybe we can make that dream real." Elias nodded, feeling a new sense of purpose. This was no longer just a mission or a battle for survival. It was a chance to change the future. The fight continued late into the night. The Zeril Dominion, though powerful, could not break the temple's defenses. Finally, their leader called a retreat. As silence returned, Elias and Rinya stood together, watching the stars above. "We did it," Elias said quietly. "Yes," Rinya replied, "but this is only the beginning." Elias looked down at the mark on his chest, now glowing softly in the darkness. He knew the road ahead would be hard, but with the strength of the ancients and the support of new friends, he was ready. The symbol on his chest was more than a mark, it was a promise to protect, to unite, and to bring hope. The sun was setting again over the ruins of Saran Li, painting the sky with fiery orange and deep purple. The ancient temple stood strong, its walls glowing softly from the power still humming inside. But outside, the tension was growing. The Zeril Dominion had not given up. Their forces gathered beyond the energy barriers, preparing for one final assault to capture Elias and claim the temple's secrets. Elias stood at the core gate, the main entrance to the temple. The strange symbol on his chest pulsed steadily, matching the rhythm of his heartbeat. He felt the weight of the moment heavy on his shoulders. Rinya joined him, her face calm but determined. "They will come soon," she said. "We must be ready." Elias nodded. "We can't let them take this place, not after everything." Nearby, the Valorian resistance fighters sharpened their weapons and checked their gear. Though outnumbered, their spirits were high. They had seen how the temple's defenses held strong and trusted Elias to lead them. Elias looked over the group. "Listen, everyone. The Zeril Dominion wants to destroy what we've built here. But we are not just defending ruins. We are defending hope. Hope for peace between our worlds. Fight with your hearts." The fighters cheered softly. Elias felt a surge of pride. He was not just a soldier now. He was a leader. As the first Zeril ships descended, the temple's defenses flared to life. Energy beams shot out, creating barriers and traps that slowed the enemy's advance. Elias raised his hand and the ancient machines responded, following his command as if he was part of the temple itself. The battle began in earnest. The Zeril soldiers stormed the walls, their weapons blazing, but the Valorian fighters held their ground, using both skill and the temple's ancient technology to repel the attack. Elias moved through the fight with purpose. His strength and speed felt enhanced by the power of the mark. When he touched the walls, they seemed to pulse with energy, reinforcing the defenses. Rinya fought beside him, her courage never wavering. She called out orders, coordinating the resistance fighters to block weak points and flank the enemy. Despite the fierce battle, the Zeril forces pushed harder, determined to break through. At one point, a powerful Zeril commander broke through a section of the barrier and charged toward Elias. The two clashed, exchanging blows that echoed through the temple halls. Elias felt the power of the ancients flowing through him, helping him match the enemy's strength. With a final move, he disarmed the commander and forced him to retreat. The Zeril forces, seeing their leader defeated, began to falter. Elias raised his voice. "Hold the line. We are stronger together." The fighters rallied, pushing back the invaders with renewed energy. Slowly, the Zerel Dominion's attack weakened until they finally retreated, leaving the temple and its defenders victorious. The silence that followed was filled with relief and quiet celebration. Elias and Rinya stood together, watching the stars come out once more. "You led them well," Rinya said softly. "You are the leader we needed." Elias shook his head. "I only did what anyone would do. Protect those who cannot protect themselves." Rinya smiled. "That is what makes you special. Not the mark, but your heart." Elias looked down at the symbol on his chest. It no longer felt like a burden, but a part of him, a promise to keep fighting for a better future. As the dawn approached, a messenger arrived with news. Several nearby colonies and factions had heard of Elias's stand at the core gate. They were ready to join the cause, inspired by the hope he had sparked. Elias felt a new sense of purpose. The battle was not over, but now he had allies. Together they could work to unite their worlds and bring peace. Rinya took his hand. "This is only the beginning. The galaxy is watching." Elias nodded. "Then we will show them what hope looks like." The symbol on his chest glowed softly in the early light. It was a beacon, a sign that even in the darkest times, courage and unity could shine bright. Together, Elias and Rinya stepped forward, ready to lead their people toward a new dawn. The stars above Valor 9 shone brightly, casting a gentle light over the quiet ruins of Saran Li. The battle was over, but the journey was far from finished. Elias stood beside Rinya on the temple's highest tower, looking out at the horizon. The symbol on his chest still glowed softly, a reminder of the power and promise it carried. Rinya smiled at him. "Your bravery has inspired many. The Valorian people are ready to welcome you as one of their own." Elias shook his head with a humble smile. "I never wanted a title or a throne. I only wanted to protect those who need it." Rinya placed her hand over his. "That is why you are worthy. The mark chose you because of your heart." News of their victory spread quickly. Nearby colonies sent messages of support, and leaders from different worlds expressed hope for a new alliance. Elias's courage had shown them all that peace was possible. One day, a formal ceremony was held at the temple. Rinya stood proudly as she declared Elias an honorary Valorian, a symbol of unity between their peoples. The crowd cheered, their voices echoing through the ancient halls. Elias looked out at the faces before him, humans, Valorians, and many others, all joined by a shared hope for the future. He thought about the moment when Rinya had first torn open his shirt to check his injuries. At that time, none of them knew the meaning of the mark. Now it was a symbol of something greater, a promise of peace and friendship. After the ceremony, Elias and Rinya walked together through the quiet corridors of the temple. The weight of the past was still there, but so was the light of a new beginning. "Where will you go now?" Rinya asked gently. Elias smiled. "I will continue to be a protector, not a ruler. I want to help build bridges between worlds to make sure what we fought for doesn't fade away." Rinya nodded. "And I will stand with you." Together, they made plans to visit other colonies, to share their story, and bring hope to those still afraid or divided. The symbol on Elias's chest no longer felt like a secret or a burden. It was a beacon, a reminder that even in the darkest times, courage and kindness could change everything. As they looked out at the stars, Elias felt a deep peace. The mark had brought him here, but it was his own heart that would guide the way forward. Their story was only beginning, but one thing was certain. The galaxy had changed forever because a human soldier and a Valorian healer chose to believe in hope.